take a quick peek at the California elections. Now, we don't have a major update because it's still going to take a while for the votes to be trickling in. The biggest thing is that Javier Becerra has advanced to the November runoff. Boo, hiss. Boo, hiss. Mr. Sonic Gen, good night. Boo, hiss, but that is that's the big announcement here. And then the other one is that Nithya Raman has continued to close the gap on Mr. Hills, on Spencer Pratt. So it's looking less and less good for him and looking better and better for Nithya Raman, which I have my issues with Nithya, but that is excellent news because I fucking despise Spencer Pratt. All right, let's take a look here. Kornacki going over the latest numbers.
Now,
this
the
is
critical
from yesterday,
primary elections in California we've been covering all week long. Ballots still being counted with Spencer Pratt's political future hanging in the balance. Steve Kornacki has been at the big board since Tuesday night. He's still watching the votes coming in. Steve.
Caroline, I'm so sad. It's the same reason why Will is happy. One person's happiness can be another person's sadness. And in this case, if you are a Spurs fan, you are feeling very sad. And if you are a Knicks fan, you are feeling very happy.
Let's talk about that mayoral race. NBC News has already projected Karen Bass will move forward. We were just talking during that last story. You have a bit of an update here. And this.
When did y'all watch TV Glow? I want to say over a month ago.
Next batch of votes were getting critically important in this race.
Yeah, I mean, look, you see some gap here. Remember, top two advancing to the general election. Bass is through. You see a gap between Pratt and Raman, but
I don't know. Time doesn't really exist.
Is what they're counting up now in L.A. and in California is the late arriving vote by mail, the stuff that arrived on election day and later. It can come in for up to a week after. And that vote, at least initially, what's been counted of it has been a lot more friendly.
Okay, so this is from yesterday. The latest batch update has, okay, let's see. The latest batch update broke 38.57% for Nithya, 34% for Karen Bass, 17% for Spencer Pratt, which is not good for Pratt. So in these batches that keep coming in, Raman is significantly outperforming Pratt, which is why his lead is being cut down. So as the votes keep coming in, there's still like 30 something percent. The idea being that gap continues to close.
And to Raman and less friendly to Pratt than what you see here. And so it raises the possibility, and this is going to come into focus in a big way maybe in the next hour when we expect our next update from L.A. Does that next update bring Raman closer to Pratt, bring Pratt further down? Does it show continued momentum for Raman? Because if those late arriving vote by mails do continue to break more for her than for Pratt, as you can see, there is still a lot of vote left here in this race. Not out of the question that Raman could end up catching Pratt for second place. He's got a pad on her. We're going to get some clarity when we get this next vote update. Folks in L.A. are telling us sometime this hour they're going to give their next update. Get some clarity there on whether that pad is going to be safe for him.
As we break out the Kornacki calculator, right, we know the spread is about 35,000 votes, if you will, right now. You got 62% of the vote in. Do some of the math for me. How many more votes are we waiting for out there? Do we know tens of thousands, 100,000?
Yeah, no, this.
I'm trying to be less cynical than I was before regarding now the potential of Becerra v. Steyer, which is less likely than now Bass versus Raman. But I'm like, we have to break the fucking machine here in California and in Los Angeles, where I don't live because I live in French Polynesia, but I am very concerned with what is happening in LA. So it's ultimately, if it ends up Steyer v. Becerra, Raman v. Bass, then it's essentially the left versus the liberal machine here.
Could be 250,000 votes, 200,000 votes, you know, and part of it is you don't know because the votes are still coming in. up until a week after the polls closed, if the ballot was postmarked, they still count it. So,
what I will say is it looks better for Nithya than it does for Steyer. Here's an update on governor's race. At this point, I view Steve Hilton to be clearly favored. The cleanest way to frame the race is this: if VoteHub's current turnout estimates are right, and if late mail in every county keeps breaking the way it has so far, Steyer would win the remaining ballots by 4.2 points. This would leave Hilton still winning by 2 points with a roughly 192,000 vote margin. Yeah, that's because there were like 60 fucking people in the race. I was looking at all the vote totals. I'm like, this is a joke. All right, this is a joke that there were 60 people in this race. The fact that Eric Swalwell, last I had checked, still had some tens of thousands of votes. Katie Porter staying in, yeah. This is a situation that ranked choice voting would have helped, absolutely. So Steyer needs to win the remaining trail by 11.1 points to catch him. There are reasons to think the trail could keep improving for Steyer. In major counties with at least 20,000 mail ballots counted, his day-to-day improvement against Hilton has generally moved left. And then here's just a bunch of numbers here. So yes, the trail is generally getting better for Steyer, but it's not getting better fast enough in the major counties to make it easy to believe the remaining vote will be 7 points bluer than what we've seen over the last few days. Our current fairway estimate does assume some continued leftward movement. Even then, Steyer wins the rest of the trail by about 6.7 points, which would still leave Hilton ahead by 1.4. So how did Steyer get into this position? He's doing well in the trail in San Diego, Los Angeles County, and the Bay Area, but he's struggling almost everywhere else. The biggest weakness for Democrats, including Steyer, has been in the Central Valley and Inland Empire. This was somewhat expected in the early vote, given that these are heavily Hispanic areas where Biden performed well in 2020, but where Democrats slipped in 2024. But the late mail trail has also been weaker than Democrats needed, and when it's improved, much of the gain has gone to Becerra rather than Steyer, which is so... Steyer is getting what he needed from his strongest regions, with the Bay Area and Los Angeles moving even further in his direction. But he's not getting enough from Hispanic-heavy areas, which means the big urban counties would have to shift unrealistically far left to make up the gap. The completed or nearly completed counties are also not especially encouraging for Democrats. Republicans are at 36.3% in Solano, which is almost fully reported compared to Trump's 33.7% there in 2020. In Kings, Republicans are at 59.7 compared to Trump's 54.9. That is limited data, but it suggests California may not be on track to match Biden-era Democratic margins across much of the state. It's hard to see Democrats matching Biden's number in places like Kern if they're running closer to Harris and Kings. That said, primaries can produce weird turnout effects. Democrats really need the more white liberal parts of the state, which Solano and Kings are not, to show extremely strong late Democratic turnout. For Steyer, that means tomorrow's numbers likely need to move meaningfully left. Los Angeles above 20, Orange closer to 15, Santa Clara around 18, and similar improvements elsewhere. This is just a lot of math. This is a novel of math. Why does Steyer still have a chance? Because California late mail can be volatile, and the remaining vote in the biggest urban counties with more white liberals could still get substantially bluer. Turnout isn't certain. Steyer would love some eventual turnout in blue areas to be higher than my estimates right now, but it isn't likely. But the core issues remain. He's not doing well enough in the trail outside places like San Francisco, Alameda, Santa Clara, and Los Angeles, and we have a couple completed counties coming in where it doesn't look great for Dems. He still has a path, but it's narrow, and Hilton remains favored, clearly. One note on turnout estimates. Giving it a glance, VoteHub's current estimate is a mix of DDHQ and the AP. We are closer to DDHQ and assuming roughly 40,000, 50,000 more outstanding Alameda ballots than AP. Well, we're close. Okay, whatever. All right. Okay. But it is now the case that Nithya is favored over Spencer Pratt.
Look, if it was 200,000 votes and Raman is leading by 15 points over Pratt, say, just
Derp,
as a
thank
sake
you
of
for 29
argument
months.
there,
Biodrummer,
she'd make up
15.
30,000, doing it with that. So, and what's been counted so far in that late arriving mail, she's been more than 10 points ahead of Pratt in that. If that continues with that many votes left, this could get tight.
We'd rather be right and be second than be wrong and be first, obviously. When do we think we'll call this one? Do we have any idea?
Well, what we know is what they're telling us in L.A. County, and this applies to the city, too, is an update this hour, this hour right now, sometime. It could change while you're looking at it right here. And then there's going to be nightly updates. This time, the 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific hour, every day, and they've got this out now for 2-3 weeks. They're planning to do these. So there'll be a fair amount of vote coming in tonight and the next few days, but it will still continue to come. So if this gets real close, I wouldn't expect it for days.
Again, remind our viewers, this is L.A., the second largest city in the country.
This is LA. Hey, it's LA. If you don't have an eating disorder, get one, bitch. We're all on drugs. MTK, thank you for another 10 gifted. Hey, it's LA. Get one, bitch. MTK, thank you so much. Thank you.
It's been around for a while. Why is it taking so long?
Yeah, it is. It's the late arriving vote by mail. California made that decision a while ago to go, first of all, to like a heavy vote by mail system for their state. Like 85% of all the votes now in California are cast by mail, but not many, go to the polls and vote.
Not looking forward to if Nithya falls by just 10K votes, everyone blames, right? The blaming's already been happening.
Vote in person anymore, but there's.
As a non-American, I don't know why I thought that California is a lot more leftist, because California is one of the 3 big blue strongholds for the Democratic Party. And I think because of Los Angeles being a major metropolitan city, there's this perception, first of all, that blue state equals progressive when it's really not, but also that Los Angeles equals leftist. But California is the most populous state. It is very diverse geographically, culturally, industry. There's a lot of history in the state of California that has resulted in there being so much conservatism here. California is the 5th largest economy in the world. It is a total capitalist state. So I think there's a lot of people who either are not American or are not Californians who are like kind of waking up to the fact that California is not as progressive as they think. We also have one of the biggest crops of billionaires here because of Silicon Valley. A lot of billionaires who have set up in California, and they spend a lot of money, and yeah, a lot of millionaires, a lot of billionaires.
There's also that critical rule that the vote.
Cali's also big on agriculture. A lot of farmers are conservative. Yes. And as I explained before too, a lot of like the westward expansion and, people coming out to California and the frontier expansion here, the agricultural industries, gold rush fuckers. It's why California is still steeped in conservatism and has a lot of red and rural areas. That's surprising to people because I think they only think San Francisco, Los Angeles.
Can continue to come in. The ballots can continue to come in if they're postmarked well after Election Day. And so there ends up at these polling places that they just, at these election offices, I should say, they just have big piles of vote-by-mail ballots that come in. And when those ballots come in, every single one of them, you got to take it out. You got to go verify the signatures, check to make sure it's a valid ballot. You got to go through a pretty lengthy processing procedure here.
And like even in blue cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles, there are still a large number of voters here who are pretty moderate and are operationally conservative. Like they'll be socially liberal, right? Socially liberal, but then they are in every other regard conservative. So even though Los Angeles has a 13 or 15% Republican voting population, there's like a lot more Angelenos who are on the spectrum that leans right.
It's not like when somebody goes out in person to vote, they check off the name in the box and it gets tabulated by a computer. It's a much more lengthy process for mail. When you've got that many vote-by-mail ballots, it's just going to clog things up and slow it down.
Easier to do because you can do it from your couch, but then you got to be patient, right? What can you tell us about the governor's race?
Yeah, so it's really a similar story there. Actually, we just got.
Is San Francisco more liberal? But remember, Nancy Pelosi was incredibly popular, even up until her retirement. We're talking Nancy. Like, she's still popular.
Okay, Tom, we
got an
update
there.
Okay, now remember, we had
62 before, yeah.
Right, so we did, as you can see,
That is
it's
Mrs.
a chunk.
San Francisco.
There's still
to
a lot
you.
more to come, and you can see that Pratt margin now sits at 33,000.
Yeah, it came down. Yeah, it's shrinking.
See, It did come down. Right now, that's a 6-point gap between them. And again, you still have a ton of vote to come there. So again, you just saw it. We went from 62 to 66. This came down to 6 points, came down to 33,000. And there's going to be a lot more updates like that. That continues that trend there of Rahman getting closer, which, suggests as these continue to come in, it suggests this is going to continue to tighten, and this could get close.
Steve, we're going to keep going. My producers are going to hate me because we're going so long in this, but I'm fascinated by this. I want to keep going on this. Explain to me.
I think what we're seeing here is that for a lot of last-minute voters, late deciders, the momentum has been for Nithya. That it was like people who were waiting up until the last minute to decide and then have turned out for Nithya.
Why, with Spencer Pratt, it seemed to be like he was surging late in this race. His sort of AI ads, his social media campaigns were taking off. Why would those votes, we don't know what they're going to be, but why would the mail-in votes?
Honestly, I have to imagine that it was a lot of people who were not necessarily enthused about Nithya's candidacy, but were seeing Spencer Pratt climbing in popularity, and then also the understanding that Karen Bass would most likely be taking one of the spots in the runoff. So it was like, okay, you're basically down to Pratt versus Rahman, and the other candidates just were not, it was just not viable. And so I think people were waiting to get as full of a picture as they could, and then voted.
The later votes break for Rahman, possibly.
Because that is the pattern in California with this system. I mean, we've seen this now probably for about a decade out there. It's those votes that get tabulated after Election Day. They tend to be, almost always are, heavily Democratic. We've seen this in congressional races in California now over the last decade or so, where on election night we've had cases, a number of them, where the Republican candidate is ahead at the end of election night, and then it's a process over days, sometimes even weeks, in these key congressional races, where just with every one of the updates, like you just saw right here in L.A., the Democrats get closer and closer and closer and end up pulling ahead. It's that the Democratic vote, for whatever reason, tends to use the mail a lot more than the Republican voters do, and they tend to send them in much later than the Republican votes do. We've seen this for a long time in California, and it appears we're seeing it again here in this mayor's race.
So we got more vote in. We were about to talk about the governor's race. Can you update us there?
Yeah, take a look. So this is going to be new to me, too, when I take...
All right, hold on. I'm going to skip to this more recent update. Oh, wait.
Hey there, I'm Gotti Schwartz, and we are coming on the air with breaking news. The NBC News decision desk
Breaking news.
is projecting that Democrat Javier Becerra will head to the general election in the California governor's race. He will grab one of two.
Yeah, this is basically just, can corporations buy this election for a person who is not a person and who was not involved in the is only here because Eric Swalwell had to drop out.
His opponent yet to be determined, and this comes as the other major race that has dominated the conversation is still too close to call. That's the race for LA mayor. The total vote could still take a while. file, which is
Info
something
Thumb Wars, thank
one
you for 11
candidate is
months.
not too happy with. Earlier today, the other frontrunner who could grab that spot in the governor's race, Republican Steve Hilton, introduced what he's calling the Election Count Accelerator Plan. It would send extra ballot counters to counties that need them, and it would deliver all race results by June 11th. Okay, June 11th. That still seems far away, but let's pull out the calendar for a second. In California, election officials are supposed to count most ballots by June 15th, but they have until July 2nd to certify county election results, and statewide results have until July 10th. So Hilton's proposal would slash that waiting time nearly in half. Let's bring in NBC's Liz Kreutz, who's on set with us. Just yesterday, we were talking about how long this could take, but we just got this call today. Not all calls, but definitely one of the higher profile calls.
They're AP. They can only count so many per day. The whole idea in California is that they want people to basically ensure that people feel their votes are being thoroughly counted and that there's no rush in the process, which could potentially produce errors. So they're like, we will take weeks.
So many
if we need
Californians
to.
are extremely frustrated
Yeah.
with how slow it takes to count votes here in California. We saw Hilton's plan, but are there ways to accelerate vote counting?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this yesterday. I think that there's sort of two things happening here. You have some Republicans who are putting out really unfounded claims at this point of voter fraud, saying that Democrats are trying to cheat during this election. That's not the case. The reason it's taking so long is simply because of this vote by mail process here in California, where ballots can be received up to 7 days after, as long as you postmarked it in the mail by Election Day. And that is what leads to it taking so long to count the ballots. But that said, there still can lead to some sort of like distrust and frustration in this process when it does take so long.
I can't believe people want to be ruled by a Brit. It's because they saw Hamilton, and Jonathan Groff is unfortunately one of the best characters and performers in the show. So their takeaway was, let's have the Brits.
California, I think, is the slowest state in terms of counting ballots. Again, it
back in
has to do with
control.
the fact that we make it so easy for everyone to vote.
They
There's a lot of
yearn to be a
frustration.
colony
There's some,
again.
Some people are saying, should they make it where if you're going to mail it back, you have to have it arrive by Election Day? And if you're going to vote on Election Day, it either has to go in a drop box or be in person. But those are all policy decisions that happen in Sacramento, and maybe this will force that conversation.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the other race that everybody's watching and talking about, the race for mayor here in Los Angeles, I know we continue to get votes in and ballots counted, but what's the latest? Do we have somebody that's emerging here other than Karen Bass?
Yeah, so just like 10, 15 minutes ago, as all of this was happening, we also got the update, the latest drop. And you can see that Spencer Pratt is still in second place here, but Nithya Raman is inching her way up. There is now only a 3.3 difference between the two of them. Spencer Pratt in this latest batch went down a point. Nithya Raman.
I'm sorry. I just saw this pop up. We live in a fucking clown country. Hassan, 2S's Piker, has been included on the official White House government website page for left-wing lunacy. Examples of degenerate fake news figureheads spewing such disgusting rhetoric include Jimmy Kimmel. First of all, having people like Rachel Maddow constitute as left-wing. Only in America. Jimmy Kimmel stating just days before Saturday's assassination attempt that First Lady Melania Trump had, quote, a glow like an expectant widow. Stephen Colbert claiming, quote, Donald Trump is a fascist. Rachel Maddow calling President Trump an, quote, authoritarian leader attempting a, quote, overthrow of the U.S. government. James Carville suggesting President Trump would, quote, institute a fascist regime. Hassan Piker, 2S's, lamenting that President Trump is alive and remarking that it would be, quote, pretty funny if he died. Joe Scarborough claiming that President Trump has gone, quote, full on Hitler. Jonathan Chait stating that President Trump is a threat to democracy and saying so is not incitement. And Don Lemon declaring that, quote, the GOP needs to burn to the ground and that President Trump is, quote, racist. One of these things is not like the others when we're talking about left wing. Also, the fact that they didn't even put Don Lemon, they just put Lemon. Just Lemon, like in the way that Alec Baldwin says lemon on 30 Rock. Lemon, it's Wednesday. He is such a little fucking baby. This is exactly what we were talking about earlier. He has the most fragile ego in the world. There is now a White House government website page for left-wing lunacy. Comrade Jimmy Kimmel and Comrade Lemon. Read the article in which Hassan said lamenting that President Trump is alive and remarking it'd be pretty funny if he died. There are links on the website. Oh my God. Look at this. Colbert's jokes, if you can even call them that. This is it's so juvenile. It's so 12 years old. They are trying to get digs in still on this left-wing lunacy site. If you can even call them jokes. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing. Leftist influencers. Reporter David Pack, Ed Krasenstein. No, not my guy, Ed. Not my Krasenstein twin. Brian Tyler Cohen, who's on here as a leftist influencer. Words used to mean things. Okay. Words used to mean things. Terms used to mean things. Yeah, Brian Tyler Cohen, famed leftist influencer. Everything is so stupid. Everything is so stupid. Where's the one on Evil never this is what they're citing. Evil never dies. Twitch star Hassan Piker laments Trump is still alive and kicking. Twitch star Hassan Piker was a bit bummed that President Donald Trump is still alive on Saturday. I mean, I've kind of been out here predicting that he's going to be dead soon, which, again, I'm saying that because he's dying. Like, you look at him and that man's skin is falling off. It is bruised. He's like the last stage of a zombie bite, okay? He's turning purple. Violet, you're turning violet, Violet. He's rotting. Piker, during his live stream, said everybody was stoked that Trump was potentially dead. The president, he added, is an evil, obese, demented 80-year-old man, before saying he believes it backfires whenever Trump's haters pray for his downfall. I feel like it has the opposite effect, where you just hit the thoughts and prayers, then those thoughts and prayers end up bouncing off him, you know? It just makes him stronger. I don't know what it is. On Saturday, Piker added it would be pretty funny if Trump died before former President Joe Biden, whom Piker said was old as fuck and had a deteriorating brain. Yeah, hard-hitting shit out here. Yeah, I don't... Where are the lies? I don't know. No lies detected. Normally, I'd question Pacman being on the list, but Trump's health decline is basically his channel's whole thing. Yeah, so that's why a reminder for centrists and for libs that Donald Trump and the Trump administration considers all of us to be dangerous commie radicals. Okay, we're all Antifa murderers, and We're all commies. So if you're trying to, I don't know, make some separation here between leftists who you personally do not like and are cheering on the Trump administration going after leftists as dangerous commie radicals, do you understand that they consider that you are that as well? Okay. All right.
Went up 1.5 points. And this is with 71% of the votes in. There's still an estimated 250,000 votes to count. But a lot of political watchers are saying that if Rahman continues on this trajectory each night, that she has a very good chance now of overtaking Pratt.
And that trajectory is what a lot of political insiders are watching. They don't expect a lot of changes there, but it does look like this is going to get very close, right?
Extremely close. And same with the governor's race. I mean, right now, we did just project Javier Becerra. We've sort of been saying for days that, even though we hadn't formally projected it, that it was expected he would move on. But between Steyer and Hilton, who he's going to go up against, it is also going to get extremely close. There's still about 3.3 million ballots to count in the state, 66% of the vote in, and only a 5.4 difference between Steyer and Hilton. So he still has more gain to ground, for instance, than Nithya Raman on Pratt, but he is inching his way up as well. So both races are going to be extremely tight.
The amount of math that is in our future for the...
Damn, people really just don't want a single payer program so badly that they'll vote for a Trump British guy.
Yeah.
Next week or so is going to be...
in a corporation in a human skin suit.
quite confusing.
Yeah.
Liz.
We could be here
thank
for
you
days, Scotty.
I can't wait. Can't wait to be here with you for days.
Yes.
Liz, thank you so much.
We thank
All right. Anywho, that's just a little bit of what's going on there. So to recap, votes are still coming in and still coming in and still coming in. So it's going to be a minute still here in California. We really like to take our time. The reputation that in Southern California in particular, everyone just moves so slowly. It's like, well, first I had to wake up and then I had to get my daily sunshine outside. And then I had to take 40 minutes walking 2 blocks to go get my matcha latte. Just living. Actually, I had to smoke a bowl first. Then I had to smoke another bowl. And then I had to pack another bowl to smoke later. Okay, so it's going to take a while. Tom Steyer is looking better, but still not favored to take the second runoff spot. Nithya Raman, however, it's now looking quite good. Quite good. How are gas prices in California not losing Republicans any steam whatsoever? Do people not care about the economy at all? So they don't necessarily attribute gas prices to Donald Trump and to his administration. They blame Democrats in California. They really do. They blame what they perceive to be communism or socialism. They kind of just use one term or the other, like it's the same, right? And that's what they think has caused all this.